Hi, if you're seeing me for the first time, my name is Boke Burure, and this is For the Yappers. And I am so excited to be doing this. This is our third episode on since we started this show. Yay! It's a win, and I love it that we are cruising smooth. And I'm glad that you're just here to support me and see where this leads. And I'm so glad that we are making steps each and every day to um, bring out content or to discuss things that are rarely discussed in this world or in our ages. So in the last episodes we've done, we first did why I'm starting this channel. In the second one we did friendship, and I'm going to reply to the questions that came from the second episode, and we see how that goes. And I am, as always, I'll say that if you're new here, you are allowed to subscribe, you're allowed to invite your friends, your family, you're allowed to share these videos, you're allowed to comment, you're allowed to correct, you're allowed to contribute. And yes, let's all engage and live or make this channel grow. So the first question that I'll be tackling today is that what do you think about having had conversations as friends? This question cropped up from the last episode that we had, and it was talking about how to have had conversations, and it stemmed from the point that we were asking if your friend ever did something and you felt not right, or it didn't sit right with you. What will you do? Will you approach it, or will you step down, downplay it, or what will you do? And it got me thinking that, because I've had these conversations even before I came to this channel or before I started this channel, like it is very important to have those hard conversations with your friends, because it means you really want these people to be in your life once you want to have those conversations. I want to say that if you don't have these conversations with your friends, and you don't play everything, you keep piling the things that hurt you in your heart, and eventually you get tired of the friendship, or you get tired of whatever is happening if you don't have these hard conversations. I feel these hard conversations help us understand what to do to a friend and what not to do to a friend, and we have to have them in a healthy way. You don't have to go and point fingers. Oh, you did this, you did this. Even I remember you did this. There's a way you can approach these conversations, and people live in that people live after the conversation. People live feeling energized and not downplayed or not even hard. So it's up to us to know how to approach our friends, and know how their communication styles, and just be have go well mannered, or just know how to channel our voices without making somebody feel inferior or not heard or not seen. Yeah, so that's it. I think it's very necessary for us to have those hard conversations, so that they can help us stabilize our friendships, because I feel that's where we have the strength to develop our friendships. Yeah. So the next question is, how do you show up for your friends, and do you know how to? How do you show up for your friends, and do you know how to show up for your friends? Or, I think these are it's a question, two questions in one. That how do you show up for your friends, and do you know how to show up for your friends? I don't know if you get me. Do you know how to, and how do you show up for your friends? I think the first thing we have to understand as people is that, yeah, you understand your friends, who they are, how they want to be showed up for, or how they want you to be there for them in a particular period of time, or how they don't want for you to be there. I think once you understand that, you'll be able to know how to show up for your friends. And if you haven't been in a position to learn these things, you can show up in the best way possible, is to be present and let them ask you, or see the things that you really need to play. There are so many basic things that you can do for people, and they feel seen, or they feel that you are there for them. So it's up to us to learn those things that our friends need. And if you've been around your friend for the longest time, I think you should have figured out how to show up for them, because you've really been with them and you know what they like and what they don't like. So it's up to you to know how you show up. As for me, in my case, I know my friends. Okay, let me speak with the most common one. The most commone always wants space, and you can later, when things have settled, you can show up for them. But in the moment, you just need to be there for them and do things for them. I think that's the best thing. You just do things for them. If it's food, if it's this, you just clean for the house for them, cook for them without asking whatever is going on in their life. Yes, we all know what is going on, but you can't ask that question. Then later along, you can start speaking of what was really happening, and that way you'll have shown up for your friends, because that's how best I know how to show up for friends. Okay, I have very friends, and they have very different ways of showing up for each other. Others want me to discuss that issue at that time. Others will need money, so I send money. Others will need my advice. I'll give them an advice. And I'm not saying this because I am wise or anything, but I'm a good friend and I know how to show up for my friends. Yeah. So the next question is what influences how you show up for your friends. I think the first thing that influences how I show up for my friends is our relationship. How do we relate? Do we know each other that much, or do we know how what is happening in our lives? If you don't show, for example, if you don't tell me what is happening in life, I'll never know how to show up in your life, or if I've not been with you for the longest, or if we've not developed that friendship that I can show up at any time to at your place, or I can show up when you're in trouble. Of course, I find it hard to show up because I don't know you that well. So it's up to, I think it's a two-way traffic. You have to let me in so that I can also learn you or be there for you. And then finances also influence how we show up for our friends. Distance also influence how we show up for our friends. What else? I think mutual friends, families, they all influence how we show up for our friends, because I tend to think some families are very neat or very secretive or very private. For example, if a friend lost somebody, they will prefer not to have some of the friends show up, or they would prefer to have some private moment before we can even try to show up for our friends. So there are so many things affecting our show up for our friends, but I've just said the basic ones, and we need to figure out what actually influences us so that we can be able to show up for our friends. And if it's finances or things that can be worked on, we can work on them. For example, if I had a friend who did not have money, or they are not in the financial bracket that I am in, it also influences how I show up for you. So I think there's a lot that influences how we show up for our friends, and we need to figure them out and know exactly how we can show up. Because I feel like we sometimes don't need money, or sometimes we just need my presence. Sometimes we just need to hear my voice, and I'll have shown up. So there's a lot of ways we can show up for our friends, and it's so many things influencing how we can show up for our friends. So it's up to us to know what this situation requires and to show up in the right way. Yes. So what are the markers of a one-sided friendship? I know we are so random. We are not flowing like we're supposed to, but I think we can all connect these dots, that because these are just questions that were asked, that what are the markers of a one-sided friendship? Again, I speak with what I know, because I've also experienced a one-sided friendship, and it's not good to be in a one-sided friendship that where you're constantly doing things or initiate things. You constantly call, you chat, and the other party never does anything. Wako so cool to for you to do all these things. So that's a sign of a one-sided friendship. Yes, they could also do kuna time what I initiate, but if it's you constantly chasing that friendship, or it's constantly you wanting to keep that friendship, that's a one-sided friendship, and it's not good to be there, because it ends up being you end up being resentful, you end up being hateful if you're not careful, or you end up hating that person, and it's not good. So it's up to us to learn when the friendship has become one-sided, so that we either confront it or leave that friendship before we start hating before we end up hating the other party, or ending up in a very bitter or a messy way. So it's up to us to know when these things are not being done, or it's you who always gives gifts, or shows up for their birthdays, or gives them, but they never do the same to you. So again, I know there's so many things that influence this one-sided friendship. So again, you have to be wise when making the decision, or but that's so there's a basis where we say this is a one-sided friendship. It's constantly influencing things. Yes, we may not have the money or the finances or the capacity to do things, but do you also call and I don't call? Do you initiate a chat when I don't call? Do you invite me to places when I don't invite you? It does not have to be fancy or anything. It does not have to be expensive, but do you initiate that friendship? I guess we understand. We can understand that. So the next question: does friendship end and begin with material things, or there is more? Does friendship end and begin with material things, or there is more to friendship? I personally want to say that uh, that friendships do not end and begin with material things, because 5 years down the line, I didn't have a thing. I was I was just booking. I was just booking without anything in on my with my name on it, and I still had friends that I've kept since then to this time, and we okay. All of my friends did not have anything at that point, but we've grown to this point where we all also have some things in our names, and uh, for us, the lacking things did not influence our friendship or did not affect how we treat each other in our friendships, and now that we also have things, it has not also affected how we view each other. We still are so neat together. We still share. We still show up for each other in ways that we can, and we still love each other. So, if we say that material things, yes, influence friendships begin and end with material things, will be wrong, because we've not had things and we've seen friendship thrive. We've seen people who not have nothing, and we've seen their friendship thrive. So if we say that friendships ends and begins with material things, will be wrong. So, but the other thing I want to say is that material things help friendship thrive, or they're like an icing sugar on cake. It helps the friendship to be more productive or to be sweeter. So if you have the material things, the better, and we can work towards that, because we can't just do what we can't just deny somebody being the opportunity to be our friends just because they don't have a thing, or one or two things that we have. So we have to be careful again when we're making friendships or dealing in material things in friendships. And that's the what I want to say that, yeah, about that. What about self-sufficient friends? Again, I also experienced self-sufficient friends, and I think these are the most difficult people to deal with, because they tend to think that I am able to do everything on my own and I don't need your help. And this also goes to the point that they also don't see the need of helping you, because if they can do their things by themselves, it also means I can do the things on my own, and it influences how the friendship can grow. If you meet two people who are self-sufficient, maybe that friendship would work, because I don't know, or because I tend to seek help. I don't see myself as a self-sufficient friend, and I think what we have to do is learn how to show up in small ways if we had a self-sufficient friend, because I can't entirely blame this person. Maybe they grew up knowing that asking for help is shameful, or it's an act of you have to pay it back, or it's a debt that you borrowed and you have to pay it back. So and then there's people who have also grown in that way, that they never knew to lack anything, that they are so sufficient, they have all the money, so they have everything that they need, and then they really don't have to ask for help. So it's you to find out who the person that you're dealing with, and know how to help, because someone will genuinely need help, but they won't tell you until you figure it out for yourself. And it's a person who has money, and or they have all the things, but they still need help, but they can't ask, because they have grown to know, oh, I can't ask for help because I have all these things. Maybe it's not a problem of money or a problem of wealth, but they need your presence or something like that. So you have to show up in the best way. So you just learn who you're dealing with in that space. Yes. What about selfish friends? Yes, there are some of us who have friends, selfish friends, and it's not a good thing. I am personally a giver, and it's very hard for me to be around friends that don't give, or they don't give, or that are selfish to themselves. When I say selfish, I don't necessarily mean that it's material things. We can also experience friends who are selfish with their time, friendship with their selfish with their advice, selfish with how they grow or how they do their things, selfish with those material things that we are saying, selfish so many things, and you wonder why you keep on. You are the only person who gives, and they never give back to you, or they never feedback. What are you back? Okay, a perfect example is when a friend is has trouble or something, they constantly come back to you, but when they're okay, you never see them. You never see them around you, or you never see them doing anything for you in that period. But when they go or have an issue, they still come back to you. That's the kind of selfish friends. We have also, there are friends who don't really love you, and they still want to be around you, and it's selfish because this person wants to be around you, but they don't love you, or they don't show up for you in the ways that you want, yet you are busy there showing up in your best way possible, and you do all things right, but they don't do them for you, and it's hurtful if you watch it, or if you're seeing that, and it's not a good thing. So my advice is that if you notice your friend is selfish in those always that I have mentioned, you can approach it, have a conversation, and if they don't change, you can part ways, because you don't have to be in a place where people don't value or they don't help you in the ways that you need. And I think that was it. And my advice will be, in all that I've said, is that you be careful when making decisions, and just know who your friend is. Just get to learn people first before you make any big decisions, and categorize them accordingly, because that will help you in making these friendships. Please invite people to this channel. Let's continue growing and see where this leads. Yeah, that's me, Doris.